which is nothing but it's a mix of the debt and equity of raising capital, modes of raising capital for a company. And how should I choose this mix such that the value of the company is maximized, right? So this is the prime intention of this session. We have to choose that level of capital structure, debt and equity mix, or sometimes people call it as that level of leverage, because leverage as such is nothing but the proportion of debt in the total capital that is raised by the company. So what is that proportion of debt or what is that proportion of leverage the company needs to take in order to maximize the value? Because at the end of the day, the main objective of any company is the maximizing the value to the shareholders. So with that as a base, let's try to understand some of the theories that are involved with the capital structure. The most prominent of them are being proposed by Modigliani and Miller, typically called as the M&M propositions. So they have made some kind of statements about the capital structures of the company. So we'll start off with that and slowly move towards the analysis of how I can use the different theories to determine what is the optimal capital structure for the company, and at the same time how can an analyst evaluate the capital structures of the different companies in the local market as well as across the companies internationally also. So let's get started. So initially, when we are talking about the various theories regarding the capital structure, we have Modigliani and Miller propositions 1 and 2. There is a no tax version versus a tax version for both of them. So the Modigliani and Miller's theories or propositions, there is a no tax version versus a tax version. Some of the important things is when there are no taxes and even the transaction costs and even the bankruptcy costs, that is a case of a perfect markets. So whenever a company is operating in a perfect market environment, which in reality is a very big difficulty, but whenever we are talking about a company working in a perfect market environment, this perfect market should not be confused with perfect competition markets in economics. But here we are talking about no transaction costs, no taxes, no bankruptcy costs, nothing. In that case, the capital structure is really irrelevant. So what does that mean? Probably if we look at it, revenues minus expenses minus depreciation, whatever you get as EBIT, and from there you subtract the I, and from there you get EBT, and then you are applying the tax on that to get net income. So as a part of the value of the firm, what we typically look at the after tax cash flows. So which is nothing but, generally we take it after tax cash flows will come out as EBIT into 1 minus T, and when the taxes are not there, the EBIT is coming out to be the same, and the depreciation whatever I am adding is the same across. So if at all the taxes are not there, EBIT into 1 minus T plus D, whichever is resulting in the post-tax cash flows, that will remain the same whatever is my capital raising mechanism. So that's where he says, that's where the theory says when taxes are not there, the capital structure is really irrelevant, which means The value of a levered firm means the value of a firm which has taken a leverage versus the value of a firm which has not gone for a leverage. Value of a firm which has borrowed versus all equity finance, there is no difference at all. That's one of the most important propositions that they have come out with. But of course, this is far away from reality, because we cannot assume a scenario where the taxes do not exist. But if the taxes are existing, right, if the taxes are existing, what I could easily see is the interest is tax deductible, right? Because when we compute the tax, after I get EBIT, we subtract I, get EBT, and on the top of that tax is applied. So if the taxes are there, if this I is higher, obviously EBT will be lower and the tax will be on this lower profit before tax. So the higher the interest means higher the proportion of debt. So proportion of debt, if it is larger, obviously it can result in a lowest EBT, which means lowest taxes, which means the tax advantage or tax shield benefit that the company is getting is much higher. So if at all there are taxes, the same theory says, if at all there are taxes, it's better to go for 100% debt, because that is the optimal capital structure. So as per their proposition number 1, 2 conclusions. If there are no taxes, capital structure is irrelevant. That is one. Whereas if there are taxes, 100% debt is the most optimal one. These are the two major conclusions that I can get out from the Modigliani and Miller proposition number 1. When I look at number 2, what they say is, as the leverage is increasing, the cost of equity will keep increasing, but the cost of capital actually is constant. This is their proposition, right? As the debt to equity ratio is increasing, what they are saying is the cost of equity will go up, but the cost of capital will remain the same. So cost of capital, because it is remaining the same, the capital structure again is really irrelevant if the taxes are not there. The way they have come out with the formula is, okay, we know, right, the formula is weightage of debt into cost of debt plus weightage of equity into cost of equity is nothing but cost of capital. So just to derive it, they said weightage of debt is debt by debt plus equity into cost of debt plus equity by debt plus equity into cost of equity is equal to the cost of capital. So I will call cost of capital as some KO. So just a mathematics will give me D times KD